We've been listening to Sir Richard Rodney Bennett's suite from the 1974 film of Murder on the Orient Express, played by the BBC Philharmonic, conducted by Ramon Gamba. And the time right now is 34 minutes past 8, and with me in the studio is film critic Howard Elias. Good morning.
Good morning.
And we're going to be talking about Murder on the Orient Express. Apparently you haven't seen the 1974 version.
I thought I had, but when I watched this one, I didn't know who done it, so clearly I hadn't. And there's also a 2001 made-for-TV version, which I also clearly did not see.
Oh, lucky you, because once you know the ending, it's really hard to go and see a film again.
Yeah.
You know.
Especially a whodunit, yeah. I would have to agree with that. So I would say, yeah, if you've never seen any of the previous incarnations or read the book or watched the Japanese video, or there's lots of different versions out there, I guess you're going to like this film. And if you have seen all those things, or one of those things, you might not like this film.
Well, with its deluge of stars, did it deliver?
Yeah, deluge, good word. I used the word bevy in my review. Bevy of Hollywood A-listers, A and B-listers including.
Everybody.
Yeah, well, directed and starring Kenneth Branagh. It actually stars Kenneth Branagh's uber elaborate mustache prosthetic. I don't know if you've seen the clip. It's like this huge mustache that almost goes from ear to ear. It sort of takes over every scene.
He didn't grow it.
I'm sure he didn't grow it. That takes a lot of work and a lot of wax. Johnny Depp is in it, Michelle Pfeiffer, Judi Dench, Daisy Ridley, Derek Jacobi, William Dafoe, Josh Gad, Leslie Odom Jr., Lucy Boynton, Olivia Colman, ballet dancer turned actor Sergei Polunin, Penelope Cruz, and more. So it's it's star-studded. And you know, the problem with these star-studded affairs is that everybody gets about 2 minutes. And it doesn't work, you know, when that happens. I read the other day that the new Avengers film, that I think it's still in production, is going to have every Marvel character in it, which to me is just wrong. You know,
you don't get it. The character is not allowed to develop. Depth.
Yeah, that's right. And I think this is a problem here. And also because Kenneth Branagh is directing himself, and he seems to love himself. You know, he's in every scene. He just takes over the whole film, and so you really don't get a lot, as you say, you don't get a lot of depth from the other characters, and I think that's a little bit disappointing. I don't know if you remember the 74 film. Was that? I think the 74 film, there was more character development. Do you remember it at all?
Not really.
No.
I do remember the end, of course.
But, yeah.
You know, the film itself, no, I would have to watch it again.
And somebody won an Oscar. I'm trying to remember who.
I don't think I did enjoy it as much.
Yeah. Somebody won an Oscar in the 74 film. I can't remember who it was.
Well, it starred Albert Finney.
Yeah, he didn't know. It was a woman. I can't remember. I want to say Ingrid Bergman, but it wasn't her. It was somebody else won an Oscar.
Okay, let's talk about this one.
Okay, so as in previous versions of the story, Belgian detective, the world's greatest detective, Hercule Poirot. It starts out he's in Jerusalem and he's solving a mystery of a stolen Christian artifact. But no sooner does he sort that out than he's asked to go to London to solve a case there. And to get to London, he decides to sail to Istanbul. Now, how he gets from Jerusalem to the port isn't really discussed, because if you don't know your geography of Jerusalem, it's in the desert. So presumably he went to Haifa, Jaffa, somewhere, and then grabbed a boat to Istanbul, and then he boarded the Orient Express. Now, strangely, even though it's winter out, the train is fully booked, and for the first night, Poirot has to share his quarters with Hector McQueen, played by Josh Gad, who's the accountant assistant to gangster Edward Ratchett, played by Johnny Depp, who's also a passenger on the train. Now, the circumstances regarding Poirot getting a berth on the second night left me a little confused. In the 74 film, I understand it's much clearer that somebody gets off the train at the first stop and then he gets the berth. That doesn't happen in this film, so I didn't quite understand how that berth suddenly came available, but that's neither here nor there. But as the train climbs the mountains of Yugoslavia, an avalanche literally stops it in its tracks. And Ratchet, that's Johnny Depp's character, is found stabbed to death multiple times in his berth, and someone on board the train did it. Could it be McQueen? Well, there's no shortage of suspects, including the widow, played by Michelle Pfeiffer, the princess, played by Johnny Depp, her lady's maid, played by...
The princess, played by Johnny
Or
Depp.
played by Judi Dench, same initials.
Comes
Johnny.
back to life as a woman.
Yeah,
okay.
Judi Dench, Johnny Depp, same initials. Her lady's maid, played by Olivia Colman, the governess, Daisy Ridley, the butler, Derek Jacobi, the professor, Willem Dafoe, the doctor, Odom Jr., the humble missionary, Penelope Cruz, the hot-tempered Count, Polunin, or his...
Almost sounding like Gilligan's Island.
Yeah, exactly. Or his drugged-up wife, Boynton, or even a few others. So now Poirot has to figure out who did it before the murderer strikes again, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Now, as I said, if you haven't seen previous versions, you're going to like this film. It's shot nicely. It's directed nicely. Everybody does a good job. Branagh keeps the story moving forward, and he's quite amusing. And with his characters' peccadillos, with the size of the eggs have to match up, and he's very fastidious, perhaps OCD. And being OCD myself, I can relate to that. I did find the mustache distracting, but okay, fair enough. However, the film
makes Poirot.
Yeah, the film doesn't do much more than that. It doesn't really bring anything new to the story. There's a few characters have been merged. A few of them have been ethnicized because previous versions the cast was solidly white. So now you have some actors of color, some characters of color here. So a few things have changed in that regard. But as you said right at the outset, if you know who did it, there's really nothing new here. So
We're still in the 1930s.
Still 1930s, yeah, 1933.
Period set in the period.
Yeah, 1933. And as I said, because there's so many characters and Branagh hogs the spotlight, we don't really get into the other characters or the other people on the train. We don't really see very deeply into their backgrounds, into their motivations. And we don't, at least I didn't really feel a part of solving the crime. I was rather a passive viewer. Whereas, I remember some of the old TV shows, Columbo and Murder, She Wrote, that you would sit there and you would also, you're trying to guess as fast as Peter Columbo's character and or Peter Falk's character and Angela Lansbury's character who did it, as fast as they can do it, before that hour is up. In this film, I didn't really have that same feeling of trying to figure it out. I really didn't care. By the time the grand reveal happened, I didn't care. And then when all the motivations were revealed, I think I just gave away too much there. When the motivation was revealed as to why the person was killed, it just didn't really matter to me at all. So I think that was a little bit disappointing. It made it rather flat. And I think also there was way too much CGI in this film. That it was very clear, at least to me, that it was shot on a soundstage. So this yeah. Yeah, if you didn't hear that on the radio, Stacey just went, oh.
That really spoils it.
Yeah.
The Orient Express, the train itself, and then where it goes and the cinematography that you could get.
Yes,
even
exactly.
Today.
Even today. And, okay, maybe I think the 74 film was also shot in a soundstage, but at least you felt you were on the train. Here, you don't feel it at all. There, and as the scenes where the film is climbing these mountain passes, it looked so fake. And
the 74 film made me want to take a trip on the train.
Right.
I mean, it really, I said, like, one of my things to do, I have to go on that train.
Right.
I have to spend.
Did you do it?
Not yet.
No.
It's too expensive.
Yeah, but I can certainly appreciate that sentiment. But this, you don't feel this at all. It was too pristine. It was too fake. And even on the train, the train didn't rumble. It didn't clickety clack. It didn't sway left and right and back and forth, side to side as trains did back then, and still do today, unless you're on the bullet train or something like that. And okay, maybe this is the ultimate in luxury, but trains in 1933 still swayed back and forth.
Exactly, made those noises and everything else.
And I thought that was...
Had the smell, you
Yeah.
can imagine, but you don't get that.
You don't get that, right? There's one scene of the engineer shoveling coal into the engine, so you see, okay, it's a steam train. But yeah, you don't smell the coal, you don't feel it, right? And to me that was lacking. The authenticity of the situation was lacking. So to me that was disappointing. And as I said, on the plus side, it was nice that this cast was diverse. You had a black actor, you had an Hispanic or black character, you had an Hispanic character. Okay, that's great. Welcome to 2017, very nice. But I think is it worth seeing this film? You know what? My feeling...
Read the book.
Read the book, yeah. Yeah, you know what?
Agatha Christie, if she saw it, she would probably be like, oh,
yeah,
what have they done?
She's probably, she'd be cashing the check.
Well,
yeah, my advice is wait for it to come to Netflix or something, or catch it on an airplane, or download it onto your tablet, and next time you take a train, watch it on the train.
Ingrid Bergman, who won...
Oh, it's Ingrid Bergman,
yes,
that's who.
the Oscar.
So I did say Ingrid Bergman, so I was right.
Yes,
God, I'm smarter than I think I was.
Sidney
Lumet.
Lumet. Okay.
Yeah.
1974 version, yes, she won
Yeah.
an Oscar. So no Oscar winners for this?
No, it's not going to, whether it'll win a BAFTA, no, I don't think so. No, it's a very average film. It's not it's certainly it's an enjoyable film. It's not a great film. It's average. So, and there's my, if you're on Facebook Live and you're watching, you can see I got my Murder on the Orient Express mustache comb.
But you don't have a mustache.
Yeah.
Okay.
I used to have a mustache. I had one for a long time, and then it started turning gray, and I shaved it off.
Oh, but you don't want people to know your age. Sure,
Oh, I turned gray at 17, right?
Do you know that there is a sequel?
Well, that's the other thing. Apparently, the very last scene, after the murder is solved, I'll give this one away. This one's fine. He gets off the train. Poirot gets off the train, and somebody's there and says, "We need you to go to Cairo. There's been a murder." And so, of course, Death on the Nile.
Coming in 2018.
Yeah. So, yeah. And in fact, as you see, the film's already been greenlit, and yes, there will be a sequel. Whether Branagh will be directing, I don't know about that.
I think so, actually.
Probably. I can't imagine. You know what? The film would probably make enough money that the studio says, "Yeah, go ahead."
It has been making good money, actually.
Has it? Is it?
Yeah, apparently.
Has it played elsewhere? I thought we were like one of the first markets to get it.
It opened early in the United Kingdom.
Yeah.
And it's earned a lot of money worldwide, domestic, overseas. It's not quite done yet. 11 territories, including Japan and France, left to go.
Has it played in the States?
And this is like from 2 days ago. Should have done then. It sounds like it
Oh,
has.
okay. So we're one of the later ones. I thought we were one of the earlier ones. Okay.
Okay. So, but never mind. It's doing well at the box office.
It's
Let's
doing
put it
well,
that
deals.
way. Okay.
Yeah, okay.
Now,
So it's like, it's a throwaway kind of film.
okay. Now on to something a little bit more serious.
Very serious.
Breathe.
We're breathing. True story. Do you know about this?
I read about it. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the film is called Breathe, also from the UK, and it's the true story of Robin and Diana Cavendish, who prove that love and a whole lot of courage can conquer almost anything. Now, this is a story...
They have a lot to conquer.
They have a lot to conquer. This is something I knew nothing about. Very interesting story. It starts out in the mid-1950s in pastoral England, and Robin, played by Andrew Garfield, is a young man, probably upper middle class, I would say, and he's enjoying a game of cricket with his mates at the country club, while a young Diana Blacker, played by Claire Foy from TV's The Queen. Have you seen The Queen?
No, I haven't.
Oh, lovely. Wonderful series.
Mm-hmm.
And she's coming back for season 2. So she's watching from the side. Now, Robin is immediately smitten with Diana. And before long, they're married and they're flying off to Kenya, where he started a tea brokering business out there. And a few months later, they're back in the UK, and Robin is suddenly struck down with paralysis from the neck down. He can't even breathe. He needs a respirator to breathe. So diagnosed with polio at age 28, his doctor gives him just months to live. But Diana will hear nothing of it. She says, we have a new child, and that child, named Jonathan, is going to know his father, and you are going to live, and you are going to know your son, and he is going to know you. So Robin says to Diana, then in that case, get me out of this place. Get me out of the hospital. Now, up until that point, polio patients were never moved out of the hospital. They stayed there for the remainder of their days, whether it was months or, in typical cases, it was months. They didn't live very long because they were stuck on the respirator. But Robin didn't see life that way, and Diana spirited him, it's hard to say at 8:50 in the morning, out of the hospital to their new home. And with the help of their good friend Teddy Hall, played by Hugh Bonneville, Teddy came up with a wheelchair that had a portable respirator built into it. So Robin was able to become mobile to a limited extent. The respirator had a battery on it that lasted about 3 hours. So at least he was able to get out of bed and they were able to push him around. Amazingly, you were going to say something?
No, it just makes you think about, what the needs of people could be, and that you need inventors out there to keep, to keep going and to make things better, and to, and this is all a part of the thinking about, if it wasn't for these people, these inventors, the people with vision,
You're absolutely right. Yeah, 100% right. Well, Robin defies all odds, lives many, many years, and he and Diana live their lives as normally as they can. It's amazing. They go on trips with his portable respirator, and over the years, Teddy refines the respirator, refines the chair, so that Robin gets even more freedom, and Jonathan grows up, amazingly, before Robin's eyes. And Robin ultimately becomes an advocate, exactly what you just said. He becomes an advocate for people around the world who are either confined to an iron lung or to a care facility or both. And Robin lives a very long age. I'm trying to remember when he died. I think he died in the 80s, but he really outlived expectations at that time for people with polio. And very interesting. Now, watching this film, it's hard not to see that this is BAFTA bait. This is awards season.
Well, it was written by a 2-time Academy Award nominated writer and shot by a 3-time Academy Award winner.
Yeah.
Robert Richardson.
Yeah.
And the writer, William Nicholson.
Yeah.
So.
And you know who directed it?
Yeah.
Who directed
Seems like it would be. Don't know.
Ah. Well, I got you on this one. Okay. Andy Serkis.
Oh, right. Yes.
This is Andy Serkis's directorial debut. Yeah, his debut. So this is definitely BAFTA.
But he's got a lot of power, behind him.
Well, there's a reason why Andy Serkis directed this film, and which I'll talk about in a half a second. So, BAFTA and the Oscars, the Academy, they love movies about physically challenged characters who overcome seemingly insurmountable odds to live another day. So this is ripe for the awards.
Well, an inspiring story.
An inspiring story. And certainly when the nominations come out in the next few weeks, I'm not sure when they'll be announced, you can expect to see this film and some of the actors there, I'm sure. But is it a great film? No. It's a good film, but it's not a great film. So I would say that the problem that I had with this film is that the Cavendishes are almost too perfect to be true. Even when they argue, you see both their sides. It's like you're watching this film and you don't say, oh, he's right and she's wrong, or she's right and he's wrong. They're both right. Everybody's right in this film. Their friends are perfect. Anytime something goes wrong, they call the friends, and the friends are all there to help them out. So none of the friends have issues. The friends are 100% dedicated to Robin and Diana. It's lovely. I wish I had friends like that. So I don't think that this was very realistic. They were like, this halo effect. And the reason, in my opinion, why this film has this sort of halo, rosy-colored outlook is because the film's producer is, do you know who the film's producer is? Jonathan Cavendish, their son.
Okay.
Now, it turns out Jonathan Cavendish and Andy Serkis have a company together called Imaginarium Productions, which is the creative digital studio that is behind the performance capture technology that Circus specializes in. So, this is, there's all these connections to this film. This is why Circus did this film, because his business partner is the son of the parents. So, okay, that's what I say. I think the performances were good. The direction was competent. But I just wish there was a bad guy in this film. I wish there was some conflict. This film needed conflict, and really the only antagonist in the film is Robin's doctor in the hospital, who he says, "Oh, you can't take him out of the hospital. He's going to die." And that was it. That was the only conflict scene. The rest is just dealing with the day-to-day challenges of being a polio, I don't know, sufferer, but a polio patient, living your life in a wheelchair and a bed, and trying to live your life as best you can. I think good film, but I wish it would have been more challenging, and more emotional. But other than that, I did like it. Generally, I did like it. As I said, the performances were all good. The cast is a veritable who's who of British television, including Tom Hollander, who does digital double duty as Diana's twin brothers. As I'm watching this film, I'm thinking, this is one actor doing two parts. That's who it was. I had to wait for the credits to come up to see. You had Stephen Mangan from the TV show Episodes, Ed Spielers from Downton Abbey, Dean Charles Chapman, who was Tommen Baratheon, one of the three, the last Baratheon who killed himself in Game of Thrones, and Diana Rigg, also from Game of Thrones. So there's a lot of familiar faces. So I'd say go see this film. It is enjoyable. It is uplifting. It is a good film. It'll win a few BAFTAs. It probably won't win any Oscars, but generally I give it a thumbs up. I did like it. So okay. Of the two films, I'd say this is the one. They both opened today. I'd say this is the one you should go see.
Okay, Howard Elias, thank you so much.
Thank you.